So I'm back to talk to you about your gut some more. So I wanted to draw out a few things on the board and kind of tie some things together. All right. So let's talk about your small intestine. Now I am not an artist, so I'm just going to clear that up right away. Now my wife, on the other hand, is a great artist, but I am not. So here we go. Small intestine, right? Basically a tube. Inside there, you're going to have these little finger-like projections that run along the lining. Those are called villi. And then on top of the villi, we have these little hair-like structures known as microvilli, and they run all along the lining of the intestinal tract. Okay? And they help determine what passes through and enters the bloodstream, what doesn't. So your bloodstream down here. Alright, so here we go. Now, when you eat a meal, food comes down into the intestinal tract. Your body will want to absorb certain things and get rid of some things. So if we have some vitamins present, we obviously want to absorb those. And if we have some toxins present, we want to get rid of those. Kick those guys to the curb. Okay. Now, in your small intestine, you have bacteria. And ideally, we want to have about 85% good or beneficial bacteria to 15% bad or non-beneficial bacteria. Now, what can happen is we can get a overgrowth of the bad or non-beneficial bacteria. And those guys are like little Pac-Man. Remember that game Pac-Man? Of course you did. Who doesn't like Pac-Man? Alright? So these little Pac-Men begin to attack these little microvilli and eat them as food, and then we end up getting little bald spots where we're missing some, kind of like that. And then when that occurs, that can create several problems. But first, this imbalance here between the beneficial and non-beneficial bacteria, when we get an imbalance there, that's called intestinal dysbiosis. So I mentioned that the other day, but I didn't really explain what it was. That's what it is. Okay, an imbalance of the bacteria in the intestinal tract. Intestinal dysbiosis. Now, once we start getting these little food particles or toxins leaking into the bloodstream, right? That's where we're going to shift, and then we're going to turn that leaky gut, okay? Basically, we have things leaking through the intestinal lining into the bloodstream where they don't belong. And then that can create a whole host of problems, okay? First of all right, it's going to create some low-grade inflammation here in the intestinal tract. Now, that's going to put stress on your adrenal glands. Your adrenal glands produce cortisol, which gets converted to cortisone, your main anti-inflammatory hormone. Okay, so this chronic low-grade inflammation going to weaken the adrenal glands, and then that's going to create some hormone imbalances with the other adrenal hormones. All right, the other thing that it does is once we get toxins leaking into the bloodstream, it's going to start putting stress on your liver because your liver has to filter the blood. Right, it's your main organ of detoxification, but it also has to assist with digestion and metabolize and activate hormones for the body. So then we're going to start having a negative effect on all the functions of the liver because we're overloading it with toxins. Now, I'm going to erase this a minute, okay, because this, right, dysbiosis often leads to leaky gut, which then often leads to, we will start to get an immune, we will start to get an immune reaction or immune response, right? Because we have these particles leaking in, right into the bloodstream. Okay, remember from my previous diagram. It's got these particles, food particles, leaking into the bloodstream where they don't belong. Immune system recognizes that, so you start getting an immune response or immune reaction to that food particle that is now in the bloodstream and doesn't belong there. So then you start to develop food sensitivities, okay? So we start developing multiple food sensitivities, and then that can lead to autoimmune, oops, did it again, forgot the second M, autoimmune conditions. Okay? So, there you have it. Alright? So we get an immune reaction, we get food sensitivities, we can start developing autoimmune reactions due to some of these food sensitivities, but also some of the toxins that are leaking into the bloodstream, right? Some of those toxins have an affinity for different glands of the body, and they can start attacking the gland, and then it's the immune system is then coming in to attack that particular substance. So, just depends where in the body, right? So, almost always, I have personally found clinically, any autoimmune condition always has an unhealthy gut. Oh, I mean, like 99.9% of the time, right? You're going to find an unhealthy gut. And so, if we have things that have an affinity for the thyroid, then we start to develop maybe a thyroid autoimmune condition, which would be Hashimoto's, or if maybe certain things have an affinity for the joints, then we might have like rheumatoid arthritis, things of that nature, right? But almost always, autoimmune conditions have an underlying cause that can be tied back to the gut. And this is also, right, the dysbiosis and the leaky gut can also then set us up for other things like irritable bowel syndrome or colitis or Crohn's, etc. All right. So I hope that clears some things up, right? The gut is so important to your overall health and well-being, and most people just don't understand the connection there. All right. So there's lots that we can do. I don't want to make this video any longer than it is right now, but I'm going to cover some things that we can do to help support a healthy gut and reverse this in a future video. So anyway, if you have any questions, concerns, shoot me a message. All right, take care, guys.